Today we have the biggest news we've had in the film photography industry for perhaps the better part of 20 years. Just 2 days ago, Pentax made the announcement that they were going to be getting back in the game, so to speak, and researching and developing new film cameras. These are the first cameras to be developed by major film camera manufacturers since, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that, unless you include Leica, which is, Leica's kind of a whole other thing. Pentax put out a couple of videos on YouTube. One of them is about 30 seconds long, and this video is kind of interesting. The video starts with a man kind of fumbling around with a disassembled camera, and it shows him going to a notepad and sketching out the components of the camera like he's designing the camera. I guess is the implication we're supposed to be getting there. But then the video transitions towards the end to actually designing a new camera in like a CAD software, a digital rendering software. The video is interesting because it kind of shows is heading in a new direction, right? They're going to be taking these old ideas, this old technology, but applying new methods to the design and manufacture of these cameras. So super exciting. Also released another video, which is like a 6-minute video long, just discussing what their idea is. And while Pentax didn't actually pinpoint any cameras that they would be developing or any specific details of when we might see their first product with their new film range, they just mainly announced the development of these products. Highlighted the fact that film photography has been on the come up, as we all know. We've been following it for the past decade, but lots of young photographers moving into film photography, and they would be designing cameras for these folks. They'd be taking the design and the manufacturing techniques that they've learned and developed over the past few years making digital cameras and consulting with young film photographers to create modern film cameras that we can all use and love. So awesome announcement, really cool. The takeaway from the announcement, though, is we don't have real specifics in terms of when we might expect these products, but it's good to know that these things are on the way. The main thing I want to talk about, though, in this video is the impact that this is going to have on the industry. As I pointed out at the start, this is the first major film camera manufacturer to get back in the game. Pentax, the first one to take the step. That's really, really cool. And I made a video recently talking about some of the dangers that film photography faced long term, like existential threats to the hobby. And one of the problems that I highlighted was the fact that there weren't new cameras going on the market. It's really hard for professional photographers to continue to rely on these old cameras without autofocus, without some of the more modern conveniences that we like. But with potentially newly manufactured cameras, modern standards, modern conveniences, it's possible that we see the resurrection of film photography continue and expand as we go throughout the better part of the next decade. So I think the significance on the industry as a whole can't be overstated. I honestly think that this is going to open up the floodgates and perhaps more film camera manufacturers will jump on board as well. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see camera companies like Nikon and Canon look to make a jump into this market as well. It's the announcement we've all been waiting on, and I'm so excited to see what the future holds with respect to these new Pentax cameras. Something else that's worth talking about, though, is what we expect from these cameras. As anyone who's looked at old film cameras knows, Pentax made a lot of different options, lots of different cameras, several different formats. Pentax made a lot of 35mm SLRs. I think it's reasonable to expect that probably the first camera we see from Pentax is going to be a 35mm camera of some sort. I say this because that's going to be where the vast majority of film shooters are at. That 35mm format is known and loved, 36 shots per roll, very common format. I think that Pentax is going to want to capitalize on that market share, and at least with their first camera, design a camera that lots and lots of people are going to want to have. So I think 35mm is the format we ultimately end up at, but Pentax also had some other interesting options. The 645 format, for example, is a fantastic format. You can see I have my 645 camera on the shelf back there. They made some even more modern digital 645 cameras. So really, really cool. I'd love to see them bring back the 645 format as well. So that's something else that we could possibly see. And we can't forget the 6.7, those big chunky old film cameras that shoot that lovely 6x7 format. Wonderful old lenses for these cameras as well. Who can forget that big wooden grip? I think there would be a ton of folks that would be excited to see this big chunky camera come back from the dead. And who knows, maybe they would lighten the footprint a little bit. But I think they would still have tons of folks that were lining up to buy the camera, even if it was a boat anchor. But let me know in the comments which cameras and formats you would like to see Pentax develop. Who knows? They may take a look at the comments. But if you're looking for a more immediate option, if you're clamoring to get back into film photography, or you're looking to shoot film photography for the first time, here's a really cool video where I talk about 5 affordable medium format film camera options that you can buy now. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.